Collectors, set your eyes to stunned. You should look at new Playmates classic Star Trek, the classic phaser. The classic phaser configuration consists of a Type 1 phaser interlocked with a Type 2 phaser body. The two phasers combine to create a powerful defensive weapon with minimal phase degradation. The classic phaser was a standard issue to all officers in Starfleet, designed around the Federation's policy of creating weapons for defensive purposes. The classic phaser is a prime example of early Starfleet innovation. This classic phaser's simple yet highly effective design made it one of the most reliable weapons of its time. Highly powerful with adjustable settings, the classic phaser was the paradigm for early portable defensive sidearms. Just before I show you the features on this phaser, I'd like to thank the folks over at Playmates Toys, who did provide this sample that we're about to have a look at in this video. Nothing beats the classic phaser from the classic Star Trek series. I gotta say, it's been nicely replicated here from Playmates, accurately in size. It's a little on the more lighter side, with most of the weight being down below. Not only is the battery compartment down below, but most of the electronics run then wires all the way up to the top. One disappointing thing is that the Type phaser actually is not removable, so you can't remove the Type 1 phaser from the main Type 2 phaser body. It's not removable simply just because they would have had to run the wire system through that. And the speaker also gets emitted from the top of it as well. So while this isn't removable, it still does all the other functions that the original phaser would have had. The battery compartment, like I said, is unscrewed down below here, and once this is opened, you install two AA batteries. Now, luckily, the AA batteries are already included when you pick up this for yourself. It does have the trigger featured here in the front. This will alight the little nib here on the front of the phaser, and then you have your on and off settings, which are located right here. You have off, or you have on, off, and demo. What's rather interesting, though, is while it's in off, obviously, it's not going to be doing much of anything. When you have it, though, in demo, while it does cycle through the sounds, the little knob, though, on the end of the phaser does not emit any light. It's not until, however, though, you switch it to on that it does then light up the end of the phaser. Again, all triggered by the trigger located on the undercarriage of the phaser itself. The phaser also does have several settings, actually 3 settings here, and all of them can be accessed by hitting the little switch there on the back. It's a dial that you have to turn either left or right. These little knob features are not something that you can move. They're only there for decorative purposes. But I guess before we actually go to the settings itself, just to look at the details on the actual phaser, the main body of it is more of like a medium gray coloring. And then the Type 1 phaser, though still not removable, they have nicely colored it here in the black with a nice silver trim there on the side. And even the knobs, as you can see, does actually have the number, so you can adjust the settings if this was something that would actually rotate. The main handle, of course, like I said, is the more heavier of the phaser, and it's all been cast here in a black plastic. It actually fits pretty good in the hand. I felt it was pretty comfortable to hold. And because, like, again, there's not really a lot of weight happening here, with only more the weight here, it actually is a pretty easy and a pretty well-adjusted, well-balanced phaser to be holding in your hand. I don't have a very large hand, but my hand at least was, like I said, to hold this in hand, very comfortable. There's also a little button there on the side. It doesn't actually function. It doesn't do anything on the side. And you've got some additional chrome finish that's been added at the end of the phaser as well. This section right here has not been painted. It's just been kept behind for the molding of the plastic itself. Again, you've got the little knob there on the front, the actual part that the phaser will fire out of if it was an actual functioning phaser. And then we already looked at the fact that the switch here on the side, the knob, is painted in silver with, again, on, off, and demo. I'm going to stick it, though, and keep it to on because obviously we're going to want to cycle through. Simply just turn the knob, and there's 3 settings. The blue setting is for the full mode. The solid red setting is actually for the stun mode. And if you get, unfortunately, the blinking red light, that's going to be self-destruct. It's probably not a light or an indicator that you really would want to be seeing here on the phaser. First, we're going to switch it to the first setting. And this is actually the self-destruct. When you hit it, not only is the front of it actually emitting or blinking the red light, but you'll notice here on the back, it still matches also a flashing light located here on the back of it as well. Congratulations, a red shirt is now dead. The next setting we can switch it then to. And when you switch it, by the way, you'll feel that it hits a click, or you might even be able to hear the click too. There's the first setting. I don't know if you can actually hear that or not, but it does actually hit. There you go. Then when you switch it to the blue is now the full setting. And once again, to press the button underneath here. Unlike the self-destruct, this only activates and only functions when you're pressing the actual trigger down below. You can also hold it as well and get a steady stream and constant audio being played the whole time. And then to switch it to the third setting is now to full red. Now, the difference between obviously this and the self-destruct was self-destruct had it flashing red. Now with that it being a steady red, once you press it again, this is your stun setting. And it only once again operates every single time you're pressing the trigger. However, if you're holding it, it then constantly cycles through that audio, but you're only still going to get the solid red the whole time. I like the idea that they found the way to incorporate all the 3 functions that the phaser would have. Again, you have your self-destruct, and you'll know right away it's the self-destruct by the fact it has the red light flashing. You have the blue setting, which is the full setting. This is the setting I would be most likely to be having when I'm carrying the phaser around for me. I know we generally want to have this thing set to stun. And then lastly, you can then switch it to full red to get the stun effect. It's a really effective phaser, looking exactly like the classic series phaser did have. The only thing I would have maybe wanted to see maybe included with this phaser was the means to stand this. And once again, when it comes to usually handheld 1-to-1 scale props like this, companies don't tend to include stands. And I do wish that in a case like this, they could have included a stand, because as good as this is, not only is it practical, I mean, it looks like a nice finished phaser. Granted, one side you're going to see the very obvious areas where, of course, they would have put the screws in to sandwich the 2 halves of the plastic together. But having it, though, displayed like this, you'd be hard-pressed to not think that this was pulled from the original classic series. Really, when you have companies like Playmates Toys putting out pieces like this, it gets finally the chance to put in the hands of collectors some high-end replicas without paying the high-end replica prices as well. I mean, you can obviously surf online and easily find yourself replicas, but half the time they're usually resin reproductions of the original ones, and they don't always have lights and sounds. In fact, most of the time they don't. This is a affordable means of getting yourself the classic phaser from the series, the classic Star Trek series. It does have the lights and sounds, and also it's something that you can carry around. It's good for cosplaying. It's also good if you just want to have fun and run around your backyard pretending like you're in Star Trek or in Starfleet. Just make sure, of course, you're not a red shirt. Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at Playmates Toys that did provide this sample of the classic Star Trek Classic Phaser Standard Issued Sidearm. What do you guys think of it? Let me know down below in the comments section. And maybe for a video question, I'll also throw it out to you as well. What's your favorite weapon from a sci-fi series? Is it the classic phaser from Star Trek? Let me know down below in the comments section. And as well, if you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like. If you're loving the content you're seeing and do want to stick around for more Star Trek, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. And though while we have wrapped up things right now for the phaser, the classic phaser, there's definitely going to be a lot more Playmates Star Trek stuff coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.